78.6 FM Yomatan. Positive vibes of Winsome. Happy Saturday. Ohio gozaimasu from here in Okinawa, Japan. My favorite place to be on this island is Yomatan Village. Man, it was pretty when we woke up, right? It was beautiful outside. There was cloud free. You can see the water. And on my way here to the radio, the rain was like, hey, just kidding, Winsome. Let me just throw some rain at you, right? So here it is. Hopefully it clears up again so I can go out and do some exploring. If y'all know me, you know I like to go out and explore Yomatan. Hey, welcome back, man. Good morning to you. It has been an amazing week for me. I was able to get back to work, get my sleep schedule going again. Still took a couple of days, right, to get my routine back. Imagine being gone for almost 8-9 weeks and then your whole routine has to change based on the new location. So for me, I'm in the U.S. again, right? Time difference. I'm a day behind. The flip it. So when it's morning here, it's evening there. So I was really on a whole different time zone for 8 weeks. Had to adjust, right? And then I had to get into the groove of things, right? Try to get a routine going with working out, a routine going with sleep. And when I finally got it down, I'm moving. It's actually all coming together. Then it's time to go, right? So here I am back in Japan, Okinawa. New groove, try to get the new routine going. And this week was a struggle. I would not lie to you. No matter how much I wanted to just jump out and jump back into my daily routine, it was a struggle every morning to get up, get that energy going because my body is still stuck in the other time zone, right? So it was like, hey, come on, let's go. We got this. But I was forcing myself to get out the bed, regardless if I wanted to or didn't want to. I'm going to, right? So I would get up still. My alarm's going off back at the time it used to, which was about 5:45, 5:30 at the earliest. I get up. I want to be out the door no later than 5:50 or 6 a.m. Get to the gym, get that quick 30, 45 minutes in because that's the goal. At least 30 to 45 minutes. Now 30 if I'm a high intensity the entire time, but 30 to 45 if it's a mixture of high intensity, strength training, cardio, and an hour max. And the hour is usually if I get distracted by something. There's a game on the TV in there. Take them TVs out of there, man. Y'all stop distracting us old men with these cool soccer games going on. You guys know Japan had a big win yesterday, by the way. All right, so let me get back to it. So the routine is going. I'm trying to get my routine going again. And then we get to work, right? So my morning is getting realigned. And then you get to work. Now, remember, you got to put that energy that you've been in the classroom environment for 8-9 weeks, classroom, and now I'm teaching again. I'm counseling again. I'm speaking to people again, trying to speak life into people. But you know where it starts. You got to have life in yourself before you can give life back, right? I had to build myself up. I had to be strong on the inside. I got to have that energy here so I can give it to others. So that's been my goal. The last couple of days been a struggle, but I've been on it. I missed you guys, man. Last Saturday, I was just getting back on the air. I didn't have my normal, woo, let's go energy because I was still trying to get situated. But I still came. I still showed up, which is what I tell everybody that I love and care about. Keep showing up. Sometimes it's not going to be easy. Sometimes you're going to be tired. Sometimes you're not going to want to. Sometimes it's going to feel like you don't need it. You don't really need this right now. But when you're consistent, when you're keeping this, they pull strength just from watching you. You empower somebody else to realize that it's possible. You're encouraging somebody without even speaking directly to them. You are becoming a beacon, and it's so awesome. It's such an honor to be back on the air with everybody here and Yomatan Village. I'm getting ready to speak to AFN, American Forces Network, again on Tuesday or Monday. I believe it's Monday, 09. So that'd be 09 Japan Standard Time. You'll hear the same voice on the morning show, the Win Some, You Lose Some segment for the American Forces Network. I'm really excited to be back. I've been away from there for 2 months. So we've gone 2 months with a gap in that chapter. So I really want to jump back in with this same energy. Let's go. I believe it's Aaron Meyer, Meyer, my teammate there. That morning, we're going to go at it. We haven't talked in a while, and I always love their energy, no matter who's on the other side of the booth. It's a great conversation every single time, and we do just this, right? I get to polish up this lesson, go in there and teach the rest of the pack av, whoever's listening in. That's a lot of people get to hear some great info, right? So I got to come with it. Hey, check this out, 78.6 FM Yoma Time, Positive Vibes with Winsome. It is the end of 2022. We are in December right now. With that being said, is we got to gear up, get our mind, spirit, body, socially, spiritually, everything together for 2023. How you get yourself together mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, your family. I mean, all of these things that you really want to start putting right in front of you to get a good look at, to kind of reevaluate right now, right? People jump into the new year as if it's a new start. And I love people that do that. I love you. I love when you say, hey, I have a new start, a new opportunity, a new chance, a new year. But you don't have to wait till 1 January to do it. You can start reevaluating yourself right now. You can start looking at your life, looking at the things that are supposed to be a priority to you, that you claimed were priority, that were your number 1, 2, and 3 values, and start making sure that you've been putting that energy into them. And then start right now planning how you're going to make those changes for 2023. But you can start making the plan now. And you can start taking those actions, those small action steps now. I love that when I see it, man. I love when people walk in my office and they're telling me they're doing it. It really excites me. It gets me going. I'm like, I like that. You just gave me energy, right? I'm going to tell you, just from the point when I walked in Monday, still dragging a little bit, to Friday, people were just giving me energy all week, just feeding me great news. And I love to hear it. There was something that did echo throughout the time I was gone, throughout the time I got back, conversations all week. And it's not just at the office, it's not just at home, but it was even from my previous experience. And it was a word that kind of kept floating. And it's called boundaries. And that word boundaries for a lot of different people may mean a lot of different things, but I want to talk to my family right now and tell you how important boundaries are for you. I'm going to give you an example, a quick story of how, I use that word and I make sure it's a part of my life, and how I'm still working on other areas of my life to put those boundaries in place, right? I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to be vulnerable with you today. And I'm going to tell you, like, just my most recent experience, a class that I attended, a course that I was in. We have what they call icebreaker, right? Now, we're adults. I'm an old man, right? I try not to look it, but I'm 43, about to be 44 next year, right? And so when I'm sitting here and you start thinking about things I used to do in my 20s, things I was healing from in my 30s, I don't mess with those things anymore, right? That was when I was in my 20s. I had good joints. I had energy. I can just wake up and go after a long night. I can't do those things anymore, right? So an icebreaker, now remember, the environment is an environment of adults around my age. And an icebreaker is an opportunity to come together and meet each other, talk, mingle, and, be social. Well, this particular icebreaker started at 5 o'clock and actually at 5:30. So people were in place in certain areas at 5 o'clock. Now, if you know me, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party. I'm very chill. I have a very laid back aspects of my life that I appreciate, right? Rest is something I really value in my life. Peace. So I sit there in this classroom, right, and waiting on everybody to get going. And I ain't going to say where. I'm going to say is the icebreaker kicks off, and it starts at 5:30, but at 5 o'clock, you start seeing people already kind of tipsy and lit, like drunk. And I'm like, oh, man. Then you start seeing the interactions and the animation, and I'm like, oh, no. Right? And at one point, remember, this kicks off at 5:30 officially, but we're in place at 5 o'clock. By 5:10, me just identifying things that made me uncomfortable, things that I was like, this isn't me. I looked to some of my teammates at the time and I said, hey, man, this ain't my scene. I'm about to head out. Got up, grabbed my stuff, and went to my room. Got on there and wrote in my journal. Never again. It's not my scene. What I just described to you was exactly what I want to talk to you about today, and that is knowing your boundaries, having identified your boundaries, and being able to enforce your boundaries, and why having that power and taking that power back in your life is a game changer. We talk about different things, right? That are superpowers. This one is a game changer. And because if you realize boundaries can be in every aspect of your life, work boundaries, family boundaries, friendship boundaries, spirituality boundaries. I mean, when you set those boundaries in your life, you are making sure that you are in places of your life and going through those seasons in a form that is good for you, safe for you, clear and clearly communicated to others, so that not only are you doing things that are right for you mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially, but other people are respecting those boundaries that you have put out there because you did it in a way that was clearly communicated, not just by your words, but by your actions. And that people are like, yo, whoa, hey, that dude don't do that. Hey, let me say this right now. People know I don't drink. I make sure that immediately upon the opportunity of presenting that information, just to take that off the table. Hey man, I don't drink and I'm not going to be anybody's designated driver. I don't associate myself with alcohol. Those were lessons learned from me in my 20s. So y'all have fun. Not that I'm not going to treat you any different if you indulge or you enjoy it. It's just not my scene. So I won't be there with you. But I wish you luck and I need you to be safe. I need you to make it home. And I'll rewind that to that same conversation I just had with the same team the day after they saw me walk out and say, this isn't my scene. I came back because I needed it to be clear. I appreciate everybody in this room. Check this out. I'm looking to the left and to the right. I want y'all to know something moving forward because we're going to be here for a long time together. I need you to know that I don't drink. I don't party. I value rest, and this is an opportunity for me to do that when we're not in this environment. Rest, something that's important to me. Put it on the table. I'm here to rest. I'm here to enjoy this company, but I'm not here for all the tomfoolery and shenanigans. In addition to that, another goal I have, fam, is I do want to work out in the morning. So if we can make any extracurricular activities that you guys have not interfere with that, that would be great for me. Also on my weekends, while I'm here, I want to see my family when possible. So when you guys are planning all these random events, please keep that in consideration. For us coming from overseas, we want to see our family while we're here in the States. We want to take every opportunity. I put it out there. Everything I'm telling you, I don't have to like have it written down and read it because that was literally practiced and rehearsed 3-4 times before I walked into the class the next day to have that conversation. I did it before we got started, before our instructor for that day walked in. I put it out there into the universe and into everyone's face, ears, and eyes. I looked everyone around the room. I made eye contact to make sure my message was clearly communicated. We had goals on the board. I added that little goal, protect your peace while you're here, self-care. It was important to me to make sure it was clear, concise, communicated, and that I was consistent about everything I just said. That, my friends, is what we're going to talk about today. And as an example of setting boundaries in your life, maintaining those boundaries, enforcing those boundaries, being consistent, and making sure that it's communicated clearly. Not just through your words, but through your actions. Because talk is cheap. Show me, right? Sounds good. What we used to say last year. I'm so excited to talk about this today because I have these conversations all week with people and where we're navigating them, helping them chart their course, and I have to share it with my family. And I can't wait to talk about this on AFN. So let's start with you, my fam. 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winston. Today we're talking about boundaries. It's been a great week. My teammate Joe Gross is back at work, so we get to share the load a little bit. All these knuckleheads been running in, showing us love. Hey, we love y'all back. My teammate, we just hired a new teammate there at my workstation. The weather hasn't been great, but you know what? It's still a beautiful island. So I'm going to tell you all the good things. And all those, there's really no negatives to it, right? Life is good. I got another day. I'm here, still standing. Now you get to speak life into my family and friends, and I can't wait to finish with this message. Hey, we'll be right back after this break. 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winston. 78.6 FM Yoma Time, Positive Vibes of Winsome. Today we're talking about setting boundaries. Taking your power back for 2023, and you're starting right now with me. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to give you some direction. I'm going to give you some steps. That was my promise I made to you coming back tired last week on the air, but still here for you, is I'm going to start leaving here with some tips for you to take away. Not just information about it, not just some topics and telling you stories, but I want you to walk away and listen to the station and be able to apply the things that you hear today, man. I'm so excited to start doing that because we have stories for days. You listen to podcasts, everybody has a story. Everybody has a podcast. But are they actually telling you something that you can, hey, it makes you feel good and that you can walk away and apply? That's the goal. Period, point blank. We want you to walk away and be better. So check this out, man. I want to give you the definition, one of my favorite definitions that I found about boundaries, right? Boundaries are limits. They're invisible lines that we set for ourselves. They are guidelines on what we are okay with, what we're comfortable with. Those are the expectations we have of people we interact with, and it's presented in all aspects of our lives, like I mentioned before: relationships, fitness, spirituality, work, school. Healthy boundaries help us keep balance. They help us keep happy relationships. They help us make ourselves a priority. They help us understand others. They help us understand our own values when we pay attention to them. And they make sure that other people respect our values. We all know that person, right? We all have that person in our lives at work, at home. Don't mess with them when it comes to certain things. Don't mess with that person's money. They'll cut you off. Don't mess with that person's time. They'll cut you off. Don't mess with that person's space. They'll cut you off. That's because those people have made those boundaries clear, cut, succinct, and say, hey, don't mess with these things. Because you mess with these things, you mess with me. It makes me uncomfortable, makes me uneasy, makes me on edge, makes me upset. Don't mess with me. So with that being said, how do we do that? How do we set boundaries? And I want to go over a couple of different ways that you can set boundaries for yourself. The number one of setting boundaries for yourself for me is give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to understand that setting boundaries for yourself is kind of showing yourself self-respect, dignity. Hey, man, I got to stop accepting the things that I've been accepting forever in my life. Why do I still allow people to talk to me like that? Why do I still allow people to even approach me with that? We had a conversation this week. Me and one of my brothers were like, hey, why would that person even feel comfortable saying that? Right? Maybe I need to reevaluate my boundaries that I have with this individual or even in this locale to make sure this doesn't happen again. Having that self-respect to give yourself permission to do that. Taking away the fear. Being scared to set. I've had people literally come into my office that were scared to set boundaries. Perfect example. My boss keeps coming and handing me some at 4:30, man, and then I get home about 6 and I'm supposed to pick up my kids at 5. Have you mentioned that to your boss? Have you said, hey, sir, if you don't mind, this is what I'm doing throughout the week. And if you can make sure, not even say make sure, but if you can ensure that I try to get things at a reasonable time, because I've been getting stuff from you on the average of the time it's going out. I'm supposed to be out the door. In addition to that, is an emergency. What boundaries do you have on the things that you do and that you put your energy into? My boss can hand me something at 4:30, and me and my boss both know because we both have shared vision and shared understanding of work. Is this something I need to do tonight? Or is it something I can come back to in the morning? And with my old job, if it was affecting someone's pay or if somebody died, that's when it was emergency, right? In this job, it's, does this person need me right now? I'll be here. Is this a situation where this person can reach me? Has this been trying to reach me? Basic information? I'll be here tomorrow, right? And all lines of communication are open. Setting those boundaries and having that understanding take away the fear of having boundaries, the guilt of having boundaries. How easy would it have been from the story I gave you at the beginning for me to say, man, I'm only here for a few weeks. I may never see these guys again. Maybe I should just go out drinking with them once just because I don't want them to say that I wasn't being a team player. What? Listen to me. Having guilt or doubting yourself about boundaries you set in your life to be safe, happy, healthy, and secure with who you are as an individual, then you continue to do that. That's the most important. Give yourself permission, take away doubt, take away guilt, and respect yourself enough to set them. It's your life. No matter what aspect we're talking about, from all the different things we presented to you, relationships, work, why are you still allowing your significant other to do certain things that have bothered you for years? Why haven't you addressed it? Why are you still accepting things in your life that you just know should not exist and you're trying to change? You've been telling yourself for years that you want to make a change. Know your limits. Listen to me, when you're trying to establish boundaries, the whole key to setting boundaries is knowing the limitations that you're trying to set in your life and where you're at right now. Know your limits. Know how far you can take a day, a person, a scenario, a situation, activities, habits. Know your limits. A perfect example of this one is eating. I had one of the coolest instructors in one of my previous classes, and he was like, hey, man, I knew from this the way I was raised, right? I used to know that I used to want to clean up my plate. Now I realize that I need to limit my intake of carbs, my intake of meat or protein, my intake. He broke it down. He knows his body's limits to achieve the goal that he wants to achieve physically. Listen to me when I tell you, when you know your limits, it's a game changer because you've established what is best for you. If you are somebody who partakes in alcohol, not judgmental, know your limits. What's a reasonable amount for you to drink when you're being social? To where you're not going to regret it the next day. We all got that story, if you're old enough to drink, and some of you who've been doing it regardless, where you wake up that next day with that horrible hangover, holding on to the porcelain and you're just, I won't do this again, right? And you're hoping and praying that that'll go away soon, but you've made the choice to allow it to get there because you didn't cut yourself off at a reasonable time the night before. Could have been due to social pressure. Could have been due to you just really want to have a good time. Could have been due to just being careless. But the point is, you didn't set limits. You didn't know your limits. With that being said, know your limits. Tune into your feelings. One of the most important things about setting boundaries is boundaries are going to be based on how you feel and how situations make you feel. Think about that for a second. I'm setting boundaries based on how this person, place, or thing made me feel. Was it good for me? Was it a positive experience? Was a positive conversation? Right? You got to get over the part that you got to realize, should I say, that things are going to trigger you to feel uncomfortable. They're going to make you trigger resentment. I had a young lady come in the other day and tell me, I love my job, but they're asking things of me they shouldn't be. So that communication has never happened, and you love your job, but now you're starting to resent your job. It's becoming to a point where now you're looking at other options of what you want to do with your life because you've never had one important conversation to establish communication and boundaries with the individual who's imposing these things on you. There are people, I'm going to tell you like this. There are people that I do not associate with because they are literally negative people. Only time I associate with them is when I have to. I keep my distance. I avoid because I know the energy that person brings to my life is not an energy that's comfortable with me. Right? You guys all have that person when they walk in the room. Everybody else might be smiling because they have to, but you're like, oh, God. Right? You're trying to get your mind together. You're trying to be self-aware enough not to make a face or make a sound, right? But the point is, the obvious fact is that person makes you feel uncomfortable in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Their negativity is not part of your spirit. Or there's some folks who are too positive. That toxic positivity might rub you the wrong way. The key is, have you had conversations with these people to find out what it is about them that triggers you? Because maybe, limiting your association with them and avoiding them is one thing, but maybe it's just you. Right? And again, that goes back to what I said earlier, right? Know yourself. Give yourself permission to have those conversations without feeling guilty. Hey, man, I just got to tell you, Sometimes when I be like, I view you as having a very negative aspect on a lot of things, man. I just want to understand better, right? You can't make that time always, but you can find the time if it's important to you, right? So, what they say, you find time for the things that are important to you. Give yourself permission, know your limits, tune into your feelings, and consider your past and present situations when you're talking about the boundaries you have to set for yourself. Because a lot of times you have been going through the motions of allowing things in your life because it's always been okay. I've always been a person that people can just rely on to do this. I've always been a person that everybody calls when they're dealing with this. I've always been a person that's going to be the designated driver because I don't drink. I'm always the person that, no. Because you settled with playing that role, and now that role is you're resenting it or resenting them. They're uncomfortable for you, and you've never been at peace with them. So now you have to start setting those boundaries to say, I'm not doing that anymore. Hey, I'm not going to be your DD, bro. And DD means designated driver for other people who are drinking alcohol or partaking in events that, they can't drive home from. So I'm not going to do that for you anymore. Or, hey, you're always calling me when your relationship goes bad, but you never listen to me when you ask for advice. So I'm just going to tell you that. Do you do that? Have you ever had that conversation with someone? That is one of my favorite conversations to have with someone, and not to throw it in their face, to be like, hey, you come to me for advice about a situation. I give you advice. You take the opposite steps and you keep coming back to square one, right? You're still in this toxic relationship, but you came to me for advice and you did the opposite. I advise. I would never force you to do anything. But I've told people that, hey, I hear you. And I respect the decisions you made. I remember advising you that wasn't a good idea. So you have to make the change. We can't make the change for you. Sometimes those are important conversations to have. You've always done the same thing over and over. When are you going to change? We'll talk more after this break. .6 FM Yoma Time, Positive Vibes of Winston. Today we've been talking about boundaries. I love this conversation because I hear it a lot that people are trying to shift, right? They're trying to change. They're trying to make those changes in their lives that are going to actually change their life. And every year we go through that same thing where people start evaluating, or should I say reevaluating, where they are in their life, where they are, how their year went, how they achieved goals, or how they missed the mark. People are really starting to look at themselves and see what they want to do different for the new year. So for me, taking a look at that, and every year coming on this, 2 years doing this, going into my third year, I really want to say, how do we start closing out the year so we can reevaluate these things, right? The right way. So as you know, we've been talking about boundaries today. One of the cool things we've been covering is giving yourself permission, knowing your limits, tuning into your feelings, considering your past and present, and the things that you will not accept anymore. I gave you some stories, some examples of how to utilize that. Take your power back, having those tough conversations, being clear, direct is the most important thing. You got to make sure when you're communicating this information that it's clear. What you want out of your life, what you need from wherever you are, the people, places, and things. So when you're dealing with people, hey, I will not be drinking. I will not be climbing this mountain. I know I got bad knees. I will not be working out with you doing 300 pounds and I know I can only do 145. I will not. I won't be doing that. That's not what I'm comfortable with. I don't like that. That is not the kind of person I am. I don't appreciate it when you. Can you stop doing this? This isn't the kind of work environment I appreciate or enjoy coming to. I need change in this aspect. These are all conversations and situations of being direct. Putting those words out there. Because like I said, actions speak volumes, but words matter. So when you're telling people exactly what it is you need from them, you also get a chance to see who is actually respecting your boundaries. So I've set these boundaries, but you don't respect them. So that lets me know that you don't respect me as an individual or as a person. Sometimes it's different personalities, right? Some people feel they want to throw stuff at you. They want to approach things. They want you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in their realm of life or their spectrum. You got to communicate it. That's cool. That's you. That's who you are. And I understand. However, I'm not good with that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not okay with that. I'm growing to probably be able to do that one day, but I'm not there now, so don't do that to me. It makes me uncomfortable, uneasy. I'm starting to resent you as an individual because I don't feel you're respecting my boundaries. Woo! Those tough conversations will change your life, man. It's a game changer. Cultures. Think about how cultures sometimes play a role. And we were listening to some really cool stories in class about how some folks take tones as meaning a certain thing. I had a brother just came back from having a horrible experience with some of the things he was dealing with. And one of the things he said was, I'm a nice person. But the responses I was getting back made me have to be cold in order to get what I needed. I had to create a new persona. I had to be somebody else to get the results that I needed, which is sad, but it's true in some cases. You have to start changing who you are to get what you want. You can't always go in with the same persona, the same energy, because some people don't respect that energy. You got to make it clear. This is what I need from you. This is who I am. This is what I need. And I need you to be able to do this to help me get here. And it's not being selfish, because at the end of the day, usually that person's role is to help provide what you need. And I give my man kudos for that, because he had to shift to take care of his family, because that was one of his value. His number one value was family. Self-awareness, which leads me right into what I just told you about. You have to be self-aware and know what you value. Me, my number one value, because it encompasses everything, is time. When I wake up in the morning, I take today as a blessing. Truly see today as thank goodness I'm here. I'm awake. I got another day to save a life, change a life, or do something great. Let's go. Time to spend talking or around my family. Time to go to work and get hugs from my team. I love my team. I love going to that office, that building. Every day is time that I want, that I need, that I cherish, and that I see as a blessing. So if things that occur interfere with my value of time, I put that out there real quick. My team knows, hey, gym in the morning, you'll see me at this time. We cut off at this time during the day so that we can get our admin stuff done. right? Weekends are yours. I'm not going to bother you on your time because I value my time and I want you to value my time. The weekends is your time with your family, with whatever you need to take care of. That's because I know what I value. And when you make that clear to your team, you establish that dynamic that, hey, anything outside of within these walls is time that I'm taking for self-care. Outside of the hours I'm supposed to be here with you, it's time that I'm taking for reflecting, mindfulness, exploring this island, reaching out, doing things with family. All of this, or things that I'm passionate about, right? When I'm not here with you, because I value my time. Having that understanding and making it clear and being self-aware of what is important to you, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel appreciated, valued, what makes you feel important, what makes you feel respected. Those are the things you have to know, so that when you're setting these boundaries and you say, I'm not going to do this, I need to have this conversation because I need to stop allowing this. And it's not a tough conversation anymore because I respect myself and love myself enough to have this conversation or to take this action to where I'm changing the path, the direction that I've been going in because I want to change it. Remember and to understand you can only control what's within your control. And when I say that, some of these conversations, remember we had earlier about work. You can communicate something, but your boss's mission, your boss's drive, your boss may be completely alter to what your goal is, right? So maybe I value time. I want to be out by 5 o'clock. But because of what's going on around me, for example, something going on the base or something going on base, I can't leave until 6. That's not within my control. Say I want to go to the gym in the morning, but my teammate is on leave or something medically happened or something's going on with family to where I got to go earlier and I miss out on some time. I got to adjust to the afternoon. That's out of my control. But accepting those things and understanding those things are out of my control, guess what it gives me the opportunity to do? Adjust. I don't have to change the goal. I just have to change the path. I don't have to stop having boundaries up. I just have to make sure that I affirm them and adjust based on the scenario of what's within my control. Young lady that came in, perfect example. She said, Sergeant or Senior Cully, I got a 7:30 to 4:30 job and my boss keeps coming and handing me stuff at 4:15 and keep me there till 6. Tell her to stop. Hey, sir, I don't know if you realize this, but you're handing me stuff about 4:15, which is keeping me here till 6. You're telling me the same thing you should be telling him because at least you're bringing it to his attention. Now, if he can't help it but bring these things to you because that's what time it comes to him, then maybe he needs to reevaluate who's sending the message to him at the end of the day. But at least you're giving him the opportunity to look at it. Don't change your goal, just adjust. Your goal is to still have those boundaries set. My favorite, learn to say no. That word will change your life. That word will change everything. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. I used to be, y'all may not notice it looking at me on the camera these days, but I used to be in the gym every day. 2 times a day sometimes, right? Lifting up trees. I didn't care. I was always in the gym. And I was the first person that someone would ask to help come move furniture. Oh my, I wish y'all knew how much I dreaded. My ex-wife will tell you to this day, I hate getting asked to move furniture. Not that I'm not a nice guy. I just hate it. I always smash my hand. Something always falls. It's just my back hurts every time afterwards. Yo, I don't care how big of muscles you got. It's still strenuous. I do not enjoy it. So when that question started coming after a while, I was not available. Right? I wasn't making stuff up, no stories. I would find a way. No, hey man, I don't enjoy moving furniture. I'm sorry. I care about you, but that's not my thing. I got a good number for some movers that come help me move furniture when I need to move it, but I'm not moving your furniture. And people got heavy stuff too, boy. Let me tell you, I love you, but I do not like doing that. And that's something I put out there, clear text. No. Hey, son. Hey, Senior Cully. Hey, we doing this weekend. Hey, man, I love y'all, but now I got something else to do. I don't feel bad about it no more. I used to feel really bad about saying no and not going places, not doing things. But now I realize the older I get that it's more important to protect my peace, my self-care, my self-awareness, my mindfulness family time, conversations, things that I actually enjoy, things that I'm passionate about. I only get one of these things called life. And if I'm giving all of my energy to places that really aren't what I want to do with my life, then I'm giving everybody else power over me. That's why boundaries are so important. Do the things you love with the people you love, where you love to do it, and find those things and create those boundaries to allow that to be part of your everyday life. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to setting boundaries. It's hard for you to say no right now. It's hard for you to have those conversations right now. It's hard for you to reevaluate where you are right now and try to make those steps to change it. Well, that's when you have to. That's when it's important to. Because what's going to happen is when you start having those first couple of conversations and you're starting small and you're starting to build up, guess what you're doing for yourself? You're building confidence. I can say no. Ooh. I don't have to be with them every weekend like I did with class. I don't have to do this. Let me tell you, I was uncomfortable typing a little message up and practicing and rehearsing it, but I felt wonderful once I said it to the class. And at the end of that whole course, do you know there was a student that said, hey man, I'm glad you said that at the beginning because I didn't feel pressured in having to do what all the other classes were doing. I'm so glad we established that in this classroom that we weren't going to make each other do things that we weren't comfortable with. I didn't expect that, but it was a blessing. Get uncomfortable being uncomfortable with setting boundaries. And if you ever run into a boundary that you're unsure about how to approach it and how to set it, get help. I'm a text or a call away. There's other people that can help you establish boundaries, people that you see and that you know that have firm boundaries. Ask them how they do it. Sit down with somebody that, like a therapist, that can actually help you walk through and strengthen those muscles. Because that's exactly what they are. It's muscles. Don't back down. The worst thing you can do is set a boundary, then break it, and then go away from it. And then people realize that you're inconsistent and I can get you to do exactly what I need you to do because you are not strong in your boundaries. You are not standing firm in them. Those are just words. It's cute. Sounds good. But I know you're going to do it anyway. Bosses do it. Friends do it. Parents do it. Kids do it. If you don't establish those boundaries and set them and stick to them, then what's going to happen is people will run all over you. Be consistent and don't back down from your boundaries. Start small. When you have boundaries, go ahead. Don't jump out there and try to attack all of them at one time. Start with some of the things that are most important to you right now and that you know you can have those conversations and start making those changes right now. Take baby steps and start building up on setting boundaries. Really, there's no limits to what you can change in your life when you take your power back. And one of the biggest things you can do right now is start setting boundaries in your life that are not good for your life. Not good for the life that you want to live. Not good for the direction you want to go. Not good for the person you want to be 1, 3, 5 years from now. Take your life back. 78.6 FM Yoma Time. Positive vibes of Winsome. I can't wait to talk to y'all next week. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. See you next week.